Yes, I think we can pin Mr. Vishal. And also, we have the option for closed captioning, right? Okay. Okay, so let's start. Okay, yes, you are fine. I think we can just put Vishal. Okay, so very good afternoon, everybody. A very warm welcome on behalf of EMA and IDEA. It's Enable Me Access Association and Inclusive Divyanjan Entrepreneur Association. To all the participants, thank you so much for registering with us and joining us for this e-dialogue on facilitating the capacity building through public education and action with Sugamya Bharat app. I'm very pleased to have you all as participants, panelists, speakers, and user experts who have joined us today. Thank you so much for taking your valuable time as we talk on a serious issue of accessibility and compliances. So we have initiated this e-dialogue enabling the Accessible India campaign, seeking to highlight the call for action. As we have approached the June 2022 deadline for the Accessible India campaign and its enforcement through the RPWD Act, we aim to join hands with the government in implementing the laws and policies by collaborating with the civil society organizations that are actively working for the cause of accessibility in the built environment, the transportation sector, and the ICT ecosystem. Here we focus to identify the gaps and propose the strategic directions and solutions involving major stakeholders, persons with disability, and the leading right activists. So this series of dialogues is led by the accessibility champions and the end users who walk the path of challenges in their daily lives. And we'll engage with them throughout this dialogue. So starting with the first dialogue, we focus on spotlighting the government initiatives of the Accessible India campaign and promoting the Sugamya Bharat app by providing the instructions to use the app with its benefits and sharing the reviews of its use by persons with disabilities. This event, we shall also highlight the role of social media. So, we shall also highlight the role of social media in transforming the change into accessible environments and encouraging the ministries to have a brief over the updates on the further development of app. Talking about the main four features of the app and how we can further use to reinforce the Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan. We shall also be continuing with the other series of the dialogue in the upcoming events. So just a brief about EnableMe-Access Association. At EMA, we aim to work for the holistic inclusion of persons with disability to the projects of physical and digital accessibility, access to justice, inclusive education, gender and sexuality, web accessibility, modern technologies, and removing attitudinal barriers, among others. So we work at the heart of EMA lies with the persons of disability, one of the most marginalized sections of the society. And talking about IDEA, that it's a non-profit organization based in Delhi. IDEA has taken up the mission to provide people with disability with the power of economic independence by developing credible employability and entrepreneurship opportunities. IDEA intends to be a social impact venture with the mission to make India as inclusive capital of the world. So now we have the first speaker with us. So, hi, Peter, do you want me to highlight on the law as well, or you want to cover up?
I'll cover up. We're going to have to go through this quickly.
Yeah, because I think we're a little late in time.
We need...
Yeah. Okay. So we quickly start with the first speaker. We have with us Peter Gibson. He's director with us at EnableMe-Access Association. He's a qualified robotic submarine pilot and technician with his expertise in illustrating accessibility, advocacy, sociological research, training, and mentoring. He's an accessibility knowledge custodian, sharing and facilitating capacity building about accessibility. He has vigorously worked for EMA since starting, formulating the innovative illustrations for accessibility standards in 2016. And so we have all our data sheets at our websites at EnableMe-Access.com. And all this, we also host the several training program workshops for the architects, engineers, and other professionals for accessibility. And adding on to the views of Peter, he says that inclusion is achieved with 10% knowledge and 90% practice of an attitude of non-judgment and acceptance. So he is here with us to set the context for today's dialogue and educate us all on the Sugamya Bharat app and the possible modifications to make it more user-friendly. Over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Olivia. Okay, so without further ado, can you see the first slide?
Yes, it's visible.
So I'll just need some feedback in case it's not working as well. So I'm not going to read through all of this. We have made a PDF file of this, and hopefully it's fully accessible. If it isn't today, it certainly will be by tomorrow. Basically, the Sugamya Bharat app was supposed to be a crowdsourcing, basically app that will help collect information about which buildings are inaccessible, which is a kind of bit pointless in my opinion, because 99% of, we know that all the buildings are inaccessible. There are very, very, very few exceptions. So the app in itself really didn't serve much purpose of that. Then two, it's asking people who don't have expertise in accessibility to make an opinion about a building. So people are making complaints, and they're having to make a written complaint in that they have to type in some comments, and they themselves may not understand fully. They may understand that it's not accessible, but they may limit, to the fact that there isn't a ramp or there isn't an accessible toilet. But the details of those things, which are equally important, they may not be aware of. So if they see a ramp, they might say, yes, there is a ramp, I don't need to deal with that, so it's okay. But the ramp itself may be totally unusable, unsafe and unusable, and in which case their opinion would be faulty. In fact, there's two ways of interacting there are different aspects of the app. Some are to give information. If you go to the information side, it's supposed to give you links to guidelines and so on. That doesn't work. None of those links work, as far as I can see, certainly not in my version of the app. And people are welcome to try to access those. There should be HGSS, the harmonics guidelines, and so on. But today we're only going to be talking about the accessibility complaint feature, although there is also a place where you can give praise to buildings that have achieved accessibility. So this is just for those who want to learn how to use the app to make a complaint. All right, so let's go in. Basically, you have to register. That in itself has proven to be very problematic. A lot of people have done multiple tries. It actually took me more than 10 tries to get registered. So only people who are very determined. I believe that has been improved somewhat, but it might be some server type issues or whatever. But my experience in our groups, advocacy groups, is that it's very, very problematic to register. However, so that basically is a barrier in itself. But once you get registered and you get through that frustration, you get to the app itself, and you get registration. And once you've done the registration, you'll see here's you have to submit your details. And you need the mandatory things as your name, mobile, and email address. The reason for that is that they will send you messages. The mobile obviously needs to be registered for GPS and all the rest of it, because it captures data, and your email obviously, because you will be sent notification of the complaint that you have made that has been registered. So you get an OTP number when you give this registration details. You fill that in, and then eventually your app will become live. Give your chosen username and your password. Obviously, you should try and write down and memorize your password. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but basically it is not the easiest app to register, but once you have, the app is reasonably good. In some ways, it's reasonably good. So the first thing is, once you registered, you want to log in, and it asks you, do you want to use the accessibility feature? And that's regarding making complaints about accessibility. And you press yes, and then you'd go to this first screen, which you see on the right, and you have to select the sector. So this is the sector on the left, this screen, and there's a choice. Is it going to be built environment, ICT, or transport systems? If it's a building, it's built environment. Then you select the subsector from the drop-down list in the next field, and that's banks, ports, cultural centres, so on. It's a long list. There are some strange omissions in there. There should be others in that list, but for some reason they haven't included them, like shops and so on. But you just pick the one that's most appropriate. And in the end, it doesn't really particularly matter, because when you make your complaint, you give the address of and the name of the property, the facility, and that's enough for them to send forward the complaint. And what happens when you make this complaint? Basically, it's registered with the team in Delhi, PMU, and the people that monitor and manage the app. And then they forward the complaint to the authority in your area. So if, for instance, it's Delhi, it'll be sent to the Delhi, whichever district you're in, the municipality, and the DSDO, that's the defense, social defense officers or whatever, probably going to be involved in that. It depends on each state, might have a slightly different mechanism. But the municipality is responsible for sending on the complaint to the building owner or the building user. That could be if it's on lease and so on. And then anyhow, so that's how the complaint works. But here in the next field, you have to fill in the name of the establishment. So let's say we've selected in the first place that it's a bank, built environment, and then select a bank, and then it might be, here it might be State Bank of India, and then you have to go to the next field, which says, what's the complaint about? And most of the time, the first barrier that we come to is not quite the most important barrier. The most common barrier is the access to the building. So usually there's a flight of steps. There's very, very few places in India do you go off the straight from the footpath on the same level into a building. It's extremely rare, and that has a lot to do with the monsoon and so on. People to construct buildings to prevent water ingress and so on, in case there's flooding. So there's always a flight of steps, and usually missing is the ramp. Or if it's there, it's incorrect. So then we choose from this list, a drop-down list, and it starts with corridor and tactile drinking water service entrance to the building. So in this case, we would probably select entrance building, or it might be the next field. I hope you can hear me still. And this one is description of the issue. Now this is where you have to type in what is your issue with the building. So let's say you see that there is no ramp and there's a flight of steps. Then you just write, when I came to, you don't need to make a story. You can just say there is no ramp next to the steps or anywhere near the entrance. So the access is not possible from wheelchair or disabled. Am I still with you? Oops, a bit of connectivity issue here. Anuba, can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, it's still slow.
Okay. All right. So this one, let's say we write that there's no toilet. And that's probably one of the most important issues. If you're going to a place of work or going to school or traveling, whatever, the most important thing for a person who has mobility issues is the toilet, because you can't run around looking for a toilet. You have to go quickly and efficiently to the available toilets. And if you're using a wheelchair or crutches, there's obviously there's a degree of extra problem there. So if they're not available, then this is a big issue. So you're writing down the toilet for the disabled might not be correct in some way. So that's a long written, detailed comment. Now, most people would say most people could only say that there isn't a designated accessible toilet. There's no use. And that's what people would write. But they wouldn't be, the problem with this app is it assumes that people know what accessibility means, and they don't. Most people don't. So they might not know about the height of the toilet seat. They may not know about the arrangement of the grab rails, what height they should be, and so on and so on. So when the point of this app was to crowdsource information, this is one of its weak points. The fact right on the project, it would have been better if they'd done a different system where they could select choices. So let's say, is there a sign for disabled on the door? Is the door having a lever type handle? Is the door wide enough for a wheelchair to go in? And then suggest that 900 millimeters is the minimum. So all that, the person who's entering this complaint, either they have to be an advocacy and accessibility expert, or what they're writing is a kind of general view of the general public, somebody not expert. So this is a big weakness with the app. Anyhow, so you write as best as you can. You can write what the complaint is about and try to put in as much detail. It is kind of tedious. It's a very small window. It doesn't expand, so you can't see what you've already written. There are some problems with usability there. Then you will move on.
Hey, Peter, sorry to interrupt. Can you be a little louder? We're missing a few words in between.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
is it better now? All right.
Yes, it's better. And you're left with around 12 minutes.
Hello,
Okay,
Peter.
let's move on quickly. Hello. All right, moving on. Anyhow, so this is
I'm not able to listen.
Example of that. Sorry.
Please continue, Peter.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, and then you put in the you select the location. Generally speaking, I would suggest that people select yes when it says, "Are you at the location?" As long as you are there, and it's better to do the complaint at the location. Otherwise, you'll have to use the map. And again, there's some issues with usability on this. So you'd have to type in that blue search bar the name of the location and select the building. And that is not the easiest thing to do. So I would recommend, if you're going to do the complaint, do it while you're at, or at least start it while you're at the location. And where it says, "Are you at the location?" you press yes, and it just captures the coordinates, the GPS coordinates. That makes it easier for them to, when they send the complaint, to find out what the name, or find out the details of the contact details of the establishment. Okay, moving on. Okay, and then another strange thing about this app is it says suggest measures to be taken. Again, I mean, there's not even, I don't even understand why they need to put this in here, because if you've made a complaint that it's not accessible, then obviously it needs to be made accessible. And they know that, I mean, the government knows the standards, and hopefully the local authorities know the standards. So obviously the solution is to follow the standards. But now you've got inexpert people making an opinion about what should be done. This is a very weak point of the app again. So what I always write is do full accessibility audit using HCSS by competent experts and make the facility accessible as per HCSS guidelines GDCR and MBC. So DCR is Development Control Regulations and National Building Code. All of these, all three of these have the standards that need to be followed. So if you write something like this, just you can make it even shorter, correct as per HCSS. That would be enough to write in there. And that would be what would be forwarded. That would be the complaint that would be forwarded to the respondents, to the establishment. And then you go to, again, this is not very easy part of the app, is selecting the photos. You can either select them from your gallery, I think from the Samsung, or you can take a click and use that. So there's two options there, and try to take pictures that actually give some information. So if it's a ramp and you think it's too steep, take a picture from the side so that you can see that. This is now this would be a typical complaint about misuse of a. It's not actually that the room is inaccessible, the toilet room. It's that it's being misused. So this could also be a complaint. And then we could. I mean, I've written in here misuse of toilet for cleaning, material storage. Commode seat is too low. The toilet seat is too low. Grab rail height is too high. You know, these are things I can see just from looking at the photograph, but most people wouldn't know those dimensions, whether they were correct or not. So they just have to give their opinion. But a photo just is very, very helpful. This is another example. Somebody has written difficulties on boarding a train as the accessible coach itself has constraints. The door is too narrow. There's a step up. There's no ramp. You know, there are a lot of issues there. Then on this railway station, if you look at these tiles, you can see that these tiles are not correct TGSI tiles. They are actually just parking tiles. And this is what has happened all over the country, is that fake tactile tiles are being used at great expense and waste of money by the authorities, and also dangerous because they don't convey any information to somebody who's visually impaired, which is the intention of those. Okay, so I'm going to quickly. This will all be in the PDF, so you can read this later. So I want to move on to how this app could be improved, just quickly, just to give people an idea for the next session what we might cover. The problem with the app is that you're asking inexpert people to make an opinion about an expert it's a subject. You know, buildings and construction and all these things are very technical. The angles of ramps, the widths, the heights of handrails, the diameters of doorknobs and levers, and all the rest of it is quite a technical subject. And nearly all architects and certainly nearly all builders don't really understand any of this, or don't have the details. So this is why even when accessibility features are implemented, usually they're implemented pretty poorly, and sometimes to the point where they're dangerous, like ramps that are too steep, you know, all sorts of things. I don't want to spend too much time talking about that. So we suggested that it would be better if the app had some clickable features where you could ask a question. So does the entrance have a symbol for accessibility for persons with disability? Well, that's a very simple question. Is there an accessible toilet provided? Yes or no. So now the person doesn't have to write all this. They can just simply click on the three different options: yes, no, or not sure. So, you know, obviously when you come to, and there are a lot of features that are important. It's all very well having an accessible toilet, but if there's a step up to go inside it, then it's of no use to people who have calipers or people who use wheelchairs. So when I say calipers, leg calipers, let's say they can't bend their knees, then steps are a really serious problem. Okay, so this would be a better a way that they could develop the app, and it would be give more useful information for the complaint, give specifics about what needs to be rectified. Because what I have seen so far is that the rectification that have been done by some of the complaints that I have seen, the things that have been, let's say there's a handrail missing, what will happen is that they'll put in a handrail, but it'll be the wrong height, or it won't have extensions, or it won't have a kick plate. And so like money has been spent in the name of accessibility, but not accessibility has not been achieved because the standards are not understood. So that's why we suggest that an improved version of this would help them collect data, and then they could send specific suggestions to the respondent to the established handrail. We could see that the details of that, what height the handrail should be, etc. Okay, I don't want to spend too much more time on this. Here's an example. This is the sign available? Entrance at the entrance, the accessible toilet sign. So if you have an image showing what that is, then the person's going to say, oh, yeah, there is a sign like that. Okay, now I understand what it is, and they can click yes. Or if there isn't a sign like that, they can click no. But then it becomes less of an opinion, more of a factual observation. Yes, something like that is here, or maybe it's not correct, and they could put maybe. But immediately the app is improved because now you're getting, based upon what they observe suggested in the app of how something should look, they will have a better idea of whether it is or isn't. So in this case, there was a sign which looked like this, and they clicked yes. So here in this example, step-free entrance. So we're giving a negative example in this photograph, and it's asking, is there a step-free access? So this is the actual example of the person that took the photo, and as you can see, there is no step. So that is step-free.
Walaikum salam. Ta chana ngonthi patim matras.
Sorry.
Yes, you can continue.
Okay, so has it got a step-free entrance? So we are suggesting if we have an image and they can compare it to what they actually see against what is correct or incorrect, that would help them to understand what does it mean step-free entrance. And then they could select the right answer. So in this case, it's yes. So this is the thing that we suggest, that they can improve the app to make it an educational tool, to make it give more precise information, and make it easier to use so that people don't have to type. Maybe people are not comfortable with English, or they're not comfortable with writing. Maybe it might be too time-consuming. So if it's clickable, it'll be a lot easier and more rewarding also. There are ways to make it clickable functions more rewarding. You can give points. You could say, well done. You've given 20 answers. People feel like, oh, I've really done something. But when you write an opinion, you're always wondering whether your opinion will be understood, or whether your opinion is sufficient, and so on, and what will actually come of it. When you're clicking something which is
Hi, so I think there might be the network problem. Peter will be joining us soon. Anubha, can we continue?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's continue with the next speaker. We're really sorry for the technical issues. We have the next speaker with us as Mr. Malika Arjun Aida sir. He's a serial social entrepreneur, a fair trade advocate. Sorry, okay, my camera is on. And a diversity and inclusion expert for excellence. He's the founder and CEO of Inclusive Divyangjan Entrepreneur Association. He has over the years, he has established several initiatives like Believe India, Fair Trade Private Limited Search, IDEA, and so on. He is also on boards of several organizations like Fair Trade Forum India, Saksham, Independent Director at Javed Habib Hair and Beauty Limited, HPKVN, FTech Skilling, and standing committee member at Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay National Institute for Persons with Physical Disabilities, New Delhi, and other several organizations. He is an alumnus of prestigious Jawaharlal Nehru University and has authored 5 books. He has also been awarded the Pillar of Civil Society Award by the Honorable President of India. So, thank you for joining us, sir. So today he'll be sharing the government perspective and government and civil society's role on how both of them can participate in making the Accessible India campaign successful. Over to you.
Thank you, Anubha. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. It's
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So, good afternoon, everyone. While we get back, so let us start. I think a year back, we were reviewing with a small clip what Peter talked about 3 areas. So maybe a 1-minute clip that we'll go through and then I'll share my views. Yes, Vinay.
अब मैं आपके पास मल्लिकार्जुन आती हूँ। दिव्यांगों को बाधा मुक्त सुविधाएं कैसे मिले, इन सब के लिए सरकार की जो योजना है उस पर क्या बताएंगे आप? क्या लोग समझें कि सरकार कॉन्शियस है इन चीज़ों को लेकर?
अंजना, जैसे कि आपने कहा कि 2015 दिसंबर में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने सुगम्य भारत अभियान की घोषणा की और ये बहुत महत्वाकांक्षी योजना थी और लगभग अभी हम 4 साल पूरा कर चुके हैं। अगर एक बार आकलन करते हैं, फर्स्ट फेज में 3 ऐसा कंपोनेंट्स के ऊपर भारत सरकार ने रखी थी कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट, इंफॉर्मेशन एंड कम्युनिकेशन एंड ट्रांसपोर्ट सेगमेंट में अच्छा खासी रेलवेज, बसेस एक्सेसिबल करने का एक अच्छा प्रयास हुआ है। और अगर आप बेसिक इंडिकेटर्स देखते हैं तो मुझे लगता है कि सरकार का नीति और नियति ठीक है, लेकिन इम्प्लीमेंटेशन में अच्छा खासी चैलेंजेस है। इसका बहुत सारा कारण है कि जो हमारा बेसिक माइंडसेट है एक्सेसिबिलिटी को लेके, क्योंकि कैंपेन सरकार ने शुरू की थी तो सरकार ही आगे बढ़ रही है, अब समाज को उसके आगे ले जाना पड़ेगा। या थैंक यू विनय। सो मैं यही से शुरू करना चाहूँगा कि सरकार का ये इनिशिएटिव अब समाज का होनी चाहिए। सरकार साधन और संसाधन तो जरूर दे सकती है, लेकिन उसको क्रियान्वय करना, इम्प्लीमेंटेशन करना is going to be the role of the society. So now 1 more year has gone and 5 years we have completed with lot of goodwill and intent, but still with lot of hurdles in between, as Peter was sharing. Yes, an app has been developed, which has been floated. Several people are using the app, and there are some features which are very good, and at the same time it also needs lot of evolution, lot of consulting. अक्सर यही सुनने को मिल रहा है कि बहुत लोगों को सुगम्य भारत का ऐप किस तरीके से यूज करना है, ऐप के माध्यम से कोई भी कंप्लेंट करना है या सजेशन करनी है, वो किस तरीके से सरकार तक पहुंचेगा और किस तरीके से इसके ऊपर एक्शन होगा, ये बहुत लोगों को अभी भी समझ में नहीं है। दूसरी बात, जैसे पीटर ने कहा कि दिस वाज सपोज टू बी अ क्राउड सोर्सिंग ऐप, दैट मीन्स ये एक एग्रीगेटर का काम करना चाहिए, शायद वो अभी तक इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं हुए। While from the civil society there are several wonderful initiatives, individuals and organizations trying to be part of Accessible India campaign, and they have done a lot of wonderful work in this area, either एंट्री ऑडिट्स के माध्यम से हो, या इवन प्रोवाइडिंग इंफॉर्मेशन, creating a local level repository, and also lots of knowledge and resource material are available in this sector now, जो इस ऐप के माध्यम से आगे बढ़ सकता है. फॉर इंस्टेंस आफ्टर दिस सेशन में हम कुछ वक्ताओं को सुनने वाले हैं, उनका एक्सपीरियंस भी हम लोग सुनने वाले हैं. यंग एंटरप्रेन्योर रविंदर सिंह जी मुंबई में एक इनिशिएटिव किया, विच ही इज गोइंग टू शेयर मोर, माई उड़ान के माध्यम से किस तरीके से समाज को जोड़ के उन्होंने मुंबई का 10,000 ऐसा बिल्डिंग्स का एक रिपोजिटरी बनाया. सिमिलरली वी सॉप बहुत अच्छा काम वॉलंटियर्स के माध्यम से अहमदाबाद और अन्य शहरों में किया है. लॉट ऑफ रेलवेज का ऑडिट समर्थनम ट्रस्ट के माध्यम से और अन्य ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के माध्यम से हो रही है. सिमिलरली आश्वास और आइडिया ने मिलके एंट्री ऑडिट्स की एक प्रोसेस की थी. बहुत सारे गाइडलाइंस जितने एक्सेसिबल ऑडिट को लेके आ रही है, उन सब में हम सबको पार्टिसिपेट करना होगा. इट इज वेरी वेरी एसेंशियल बिकॉज इट इज एन एवॉल्विंग सेक्टर. वो रेलवेज हो, यूनिवर्सिटीज हो, बिल्डिंग्स हो, फॉर दैट मैटर स्कूल्स का इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हो, हर एक के ऊपर सरकार की तरफ से एक गाइडलाइन है और उन गाइडलाइंस के ऊपर पब्लिक ओपिनियन मांगी गई है. सो वी एज सोसाइटी should actively participate, and we should take this to community of practitioners, take their feedback and then give it back to the government and agencies, जहां से इसके ऊपर काम करने में बहुत आसानी होगी. So this feedback mechanism is missing as of now. तो इस फीडबैक मैकेनिज्म को बहुत ट्रांसपेरेंट तरीके से हम लोगों को रखना चाहिए. जो भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन पर्सन्स विद डिसेबिलिटी के साथ काम करते हैं, या इवन फॉर दैट मैटर आर्किटेक्चर ग्रुप्स हो, डिजाइनर ग्रुप्स हो, या ऑर्गेनाइजेशन CPWD जैसे एजेंसीज हो, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर कंपनीज हो, इन सब के बीच में एक्सेसिबिलिटी को लेके कॉमन कंसर्न होनी चाहिए, इन गाइडलाइंस को लेके कॉमन अंडरस्टैंडिंग होनी चाहिए और उसका डिसेमिनेशन होना चाहिए. वो तभी होगी जब वी एज ए पब्लिक, we as consumers, we as conscious citizens of this country start using various provisions under RPWD Act, start using various guidelines of accessibilities, start using the app, and also start giving a lot of feedback. जहाँ पे भी हम लोग जाते हैं, वॉलेंटरली हम लोगों को ये काम करनी होगी कि ये रिपोजिटरी बनानी होगी. अगर हम एक ATM जा रहे हैं, साथ साथ में अगर हम 2 मिनट वहां पे लगाए और ये देखे कि क्या ये ATM एक्सेसिबल है, सुगम्य है, क्या कोई दिव्यांगजन यहाँ पे एक्सेस कर सकते हैं. अगर आपको लगता है कि वो एक्सेसिबल नहीं है, सुगम्य भारत ऐप में जाके तुरंत अपना एक वहां पे डालना चाहिए. एक 5 मिनट का आपका ये एक वॉलंटरी एक्टिविटी एक बहुत बड़ा मदद कर सकती है सरकार को इन सब दिशाओं में काम करने में. मैं अगर शेयर करूं recent experience, जहाँ पे भी we made it a principle that wherever we go we'll definitely going to interact. केवल क्रिटिसाइज करने का नहीं, सुगम्य भारत ऐप के अंदर एक और फीचर रिसेंटली ऐड किया गया है विच इज वेरी गुड, कि अगर कहीं पे भी हम जाते हैं और वहाँ पे एक्सेसिबिलिटी है, तो दोज ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस एंड इंस्टीट्यूशंस आल्सो नीड्स टू बी अप्रिशिएटेड देयर एफर्ट्स. तो हमें ऐसा भी एक रिपोजिटरी बनानी है जिसके अंदर जो कंपनीज, जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, जो गवर्नमेंट बिल्डिंग, जो सरकार के अधिकारी समावेशी है और रेस्पेक्टेबल है और इन चीजों को ख्याल रख रहे, उनको अप्रिशिएट करते हुए भी हमें लिखना चाहिए. दोनों चीजें पैरेलली हम लोगों को करनी चाहिए. बहुत सारे लोगों ने ग्राउंड लेवल पे काम कर रहे हैं. इस ऐप अभी इंग्लिश में ही अवेलेबल है, इसको लोकलाइज करने की जरूरत है, इसको कंप्लीटली एक्सेसिबल करने की जरूरत है. इसमें ये भी देखने की जरूरत है कि एक दृष्टि बाधित या श्रवण बाधित या कोई मस्कुलर डिस्ट्रोफी की एक पर्सन खुद अगर इस ऐप का इस्तेमाल करके अपना फीडबैक देना चाहते हैं, उसमें वो व्यवस्था होनी चाहिए और वो इतना सिंपल होनी चाहिए कि उस मैकेनिज्म वर्क होनी चाहिए. बट हैविंग सेड दैट, जैसे कि मैंने कहा कि सरकार की नीति और नियति में क्लैरिटी है. अगर हमें एक कंप्लेंट ये सब संघर्ष करके इस ऐप के माध्यम से बेचते हैं, PMU की तरफ से तो प्रोएक्टिवनेस देखने को मिल रही है. दिस आई मस्ट शेयर विथ आवर ओन पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस. कंसर्न्ड एजेंसीज को एक ट्रांसपेरेंट वे में डिपार्टमेंट पीएमयू की तरफ से, सुगम्य भारत की पीएमयू की तरफ से एक मेल जाती है जिसके अंदर आपको भी कॉपी की जाती है और कंसर्न्ड अथॉरिटी को एक कंप्लेंट शेयर करते हुए उनसे समाधान मांगी जाती है। और उसके बाद जब एक्शन होती है उसमें अभी ट्रांसपेरेंसी नहीं है, वो लेवल अपने को डेवलप करनी होगी। दूसरी बात, इसमें बहुत सारा एकेडमिक इंस्टीट्यूशंस, टेक्नोलॉजिकल इंस्टीट्यूशंस, यंग स्टार्टअप एंटरप्रेन्योर्स जो टेक्नोक्रेट्स है, टेक्नोलॉजी का विभिन्न आयामों पे काम कर रहे हैं, उन सबका भी एक बहुत बड़ा योगदान हो सकती है टू मेक इट वेरी वेरी एक्सेसिबल एंड सिंपल। फिलहाल में हम लोग आईआईटी मुंबई के साथ एक प्रयास कर रहे हैं कि यंग माइंड्स को एक्सेसिबिलिटी के ऊपर, एक्सेसिबल टेक्नोलॉजीज के ऊपर इनोवेट करने के लिए ई यंत्रा के माध्यम से एक कंपटीशन की शुरुआत होने वाले है, जिसमें हम लोग उम्मीद कर रहे हैं कि पूरा ग्लोबली 10,000 से ज्यादा युवा टेक्नोक्रेट्स पार्टिसिपेट करेंगे। उनको ये प्रॉब्लम्स हम लोग देने वाले हैं कि किस तरह का प्रॉब्लम्स है, उसके लिए क्या समाधान हो सकती है। तो केवल ऐप में हमने कंप्लेंट किया, वहां से ये खत्म नहीं होगी। इट्स ए कंप्लीट एंड टू एंड प्रोसेस। वी नीड टू बी सेल्फ एडवोकेट्स, वी नीड टू बी accessible assessors, we should understand the basic rights of persons with disabilities as per the act as well as per the guidelines of Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan. The intent is to see that भारत में कोई भी ऐसा जगह ना हो जो समावेशी ना हो। कोई भी वर्क प्लेस हो, कोई भी एंटरटेनमेंट प्लेस हो, कोई स्पिरिचुअल प्लेस हो, पार्क हो, बीच हो, फॉर दैट मैटर एक फॉरेस्ट हो, एवरीथिंग शुड बी एक्सेसिबल और ए पीरियड ऑफ टाइम। दो भारत सरकार का सुगम्य भारत में 3 ब्रॉड एरियाज ली गई है। उन ब्रॉड एरियाज के अंदर बहुत सारे सब सेक्टर्स आते हैं। उन सब सेक्टर्स में बहुत सारा काम अभी होना बाकी है। ये काम तभी होगा जब हम लोगों से कम 1 लाख 2 लाख ऐसा फीडबैक सरकार के पास जाते हैं। हर एक शहर से, हर एक गांव से, हर एक ग्राम पंचायत से जब इसमें शिकायतें लगेंगी, जब इंफॉर्मेशन लोगों को मिलेंगी, जब सरकार के पास ये इंफॉर्मेशन आएगी, जब डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर्स इसमें इन्वॉल्व होंगे, डिस्ट्रिक्ट सोशल वेलफेयर ऑफिसर्स की बात आएगी, रेटिंग सिस्टम शुरू होगा, परफॉर्मेंस अप्रेजल्स होंगे, तब जाके all of us are going to meet this thing. So we as a conscious citizens, we need to ensure that the tool and the resources given by government needs to be well utilized. ये जो क्राउड सोर्सिंग की बात पीटर has talked about crowd sourcing. So all these initiatives can be very easily integrated if someone has documented, like EnableMe-Access has done wonderful work in Baroda, and we can have 20-25 such organizations already working district level, state level, multi-state level. So there could be a consortium of people who could actually co-own this app along with the PMU, and there could be a feedback mechanism, escalation mechanism. There should be version 2, version 1, 2, 3, 4, and immediately with a timeline mode that needs to be done. If we can do that, like for instance, 2015-16, Saksham Kerala unit under the leadership of Professor N.R. Menon has created the first prototype of an accessible railways, which has been adopted by the government, many of those things. And then from there, they have audited at least 20 different kinds of railways, and they suggested what should not be done. So this knowledge and wisdom exists all over India. All the organizations have done a lot of work. Maybe the objective of this series of dialogues is to get all of us together. Once we are prepared, together we should go to the government and request them the requirements. I'm sure it will be considered. The government is very proactive. At the same time, we also need to create a conscious citizenship as a responsibility from the college students, IITs, IIMs. If we have 10,000 assessors all over India just assessing, say 10 buildings, 1 lakh buildings repository is going to be with us. It's not going to be a big task. Many of us have our team members who could be the assessors. So the initiative with this dialogue, what Peter and team, EMA and IDEA team is planning to do is, why can't we create a network of young assessors who understand little bit of the provisions, little bit of access, audit protocols, and then they should keep, putting their references city-wise, building-wise, so that very soon we should have 100,000, 200,000 reference points, and then a protocol can be made out of it. So this is what I just wanted to share in. Now this is a time that we need to take actions in our hand. We need to work very closely with government organizations. Regularly, we need to we need to be consulted by the PMUs and other people. And together, if you create an ecosystem, I'm sure people will take it very seriously and will be able to build inclusive India. Thank you so much.
Very well said. Very, very well said. Thank you so much, sir. Really, I could follow most of it, even a little bit in Hindi. And what you have said is very pertinent and absolutely correct. Your comment about, in a way, assisting the PMU and so on, this is very important. Complaining is not useful. Complaining in itself doesn't produce anything. And actually it puts a lot of pressure where there's no expertise. So you complain to somebody who can't resolve your matter, all it's going to do is create irritation. So it's very important for us when we uphold the principle of nothing about us without us. This is a universal principle for disabled. We just take responsibility that what we, what is with us. If we're asking them to be with us, then we have to do something more than complain. We have to provide solutions, because for sure they can't do it on their own, because they're not disabled, they're not experiencing it, they don't understand, they're not motivated enough. So this is very important that we get together and work together to find the solutions and assist the government. Be responsible citizens means not complaining, asking the government to fix everything for us. We need to fix the government so it functions better. It's better for them, it makes their job easier, it makes the results better for us. So I think we should carry on. Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much for such important insights and how we can together bring up the Accessible India campaign and enable through different ways. And just to highlight that, I'm getting a lot of messages that the people are glad that they didn't know actually about the app. So that's something we need to advocate more on. So I request all the people who are present here to even tell the community that you are attached to that we have a Sugamya Bharat app where we can launch the complaints, and we shall be sharing a presentation which talks about how you can use the app, and it will have some illustrative examples as well. And I request everybody to at least have some time on the app and use it frequently. So thank you. As I think both the keynote speakers, Peter and Mallikarjun sir, have set a great context for the other panelists for the discussion. So moving ahead with this session, sorry, we are 10 minutes late as per the time schedule, but let's quickly start. So we have the first panelist with us as Kavya Purnima. She's a graduate architect. She's a trained Bharatanatyam dancer. She's an art enthusiast. She's a person with visual impairment and lives with a rare neurological condition, that's idiopathic intracranial hypertension, that's IIH. She does advocacy on such rare diseases which are disabling in nature. She's a keen learner with interest in research, inclusion, accessibility, universal design approach, and functionality. She shares her views about accessibility in the context of architecture, disability inclusion, disability rights at various organizations. She is currently engaged with NCP-EDP as Javed Abdi Fellowship in Javed Abdi on disability. Over to you, Kavya.
Currently muted. With idea stop screen audio settings menu button.
Yes, am I audible now?
Yes, you are audible.
All right. Yes. Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank EMA and IDEA for taking this important initiative. I'm here today to share my user experience with Sugamya Bharat app with respect to built environment and transport. As I have faced few issues while accessing banks and railway stations recently, so I have tried filing a complaint on Sugamya Bharat app. I must say, after downloading the app, creating an account was a task, as Peter mentioned earlier, but still far better than other government apps, like when compared. So now talking about some really good features on the app, the suggestions that we receive while complaining, from choosing the sector, subsector, and the issues where the standard sizes are really helpful to streamline what we are complaining about, which also helps us to notice other accessibility features at the location. As many people are not aware of the technicalities, these features are definitely helping, as I mean, the standards which were provided with the issue which we select. So there it really helps. And later part, after submitting the complaint, we receive an email as a confirmation on a registered email address, and also a confirmation call, which was really surprising to me because I didn't expect that. So within few days, I have received a confirmation call from the district authority to specify the issue like in more detail. So this was a positive response that I have experienced with Sugamya Bharat app. So hopefully looking forward to the follow-ups in future. So talking about recommendations, according to me, as I'm a person with visual impairment, using this app was pretty challenging, as it requires login every time whenever you open the app. So it makes the process a little uneasy. And when uploading the photos in the photos column, we have to upload the photos after specifying the issue. So there the photos doesn't accept on a first go. I mean, it took me I tried several times to upload the pictures. So yeah, it was a little complicated process, but then I mean, after a repetitive process, the complaint finally got registered. Also, while providing the right address by dropping the pin of the Google Map location or tagging the location, it's little difficult for a talkback user to identify the right pin. So these recommendations, if these could be addressed and could be made it even more accessible, then the app would be much user friendly, I felt. So I would request everyone to start using, whoever haven't used the app yet. So please start using the app and contribute a little towards enabling AIC, as we are talking about, and share your experiences as feedback in the app, in the column in the app specified, as we all together can bring change. So now,
okay.
Yes.
Can I just quickly say something? If there are other visually impaired people here, I would
am
like
I
to.
audible?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Continue, Peter.
So
Sorry.
quick comment about what you said.
Yes.
For the location, as I said, there's two options. There's one is yes, and if you just click on yes, then it will capture the location. Otherwise, you have to enter it. It should actually, it won't specifically select the building, but it'll give very accurate geolocation, and you shouldn't have to do anything more. So that's another way that they can improve the app, is that at the beginning, if there was a function where you could select whether you're a visually impaired user or a non-visually impaired, or if they could store that information as part of your your profile. Then they could make some different changes in the way that the appearance and also the functionality. So obviously, somebody who's visually impaired is not going to be able to use an interactive map that well. So this is a suggestion for using it as in its form. Just select yes, I'm at the current location, and then press enter, and it should give the geolocation. It'll select that. Please continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, thanks.
yes.
Yeah, Kavya, do you have anything more to add?
So talking about the role of social media, shall I put up right now or later?
Yeah, we are little
I
running
have
with the time.
more time?
Yeah, I think we'll just quickly have the other speaker, and we can discuss about it in the Q&A session.
Sounds
Also,
good.
Vinay, would you like to take over? Do we have Mr. Ravindra Singh with us right now?
Yeah. Hi. So thank you, Anubha, and thank you, Kavya, Peter, and Malik sir for sharing this. Ravindra ji is also with us. So our next panelist is Ravindra Singh, joining us from all the way Mumbai. So he has developed the app My Udan. So actually, we have invited him just to share the journey of My Udan, and this app is a single epicenter app. That's a mobile application that solves all the interrelated problems. But the reason we invited Ravindra here is that he has collected 10,000 buildings data through 200 plus volunteers from the college. So we would like to hear from you, Ravindra ji, that how this has happened and can it be replicated to the Sugamya Bharat app as well? Because this is the voluntary initiative we have taken. So if it can happen for 10,000 buildings in Mumbai with 200 volunteers, it can be for lakhs of buildings in entire country, as Mallikarjun sir was sharing, with I think thousands of volunteers. So most welcome, sir. Thanks a lot for joining us. Please share your journey and how you like create this system or process, I would say, like aligning the volunteers, training them, and how they have entered the details of the buildings. And if you can also share few insights, data from all the 10,000 buildings data you have.
Sure, thank you so much for that.
Yeah, Ravindra sir, your voice is not coming, so if you can just check.
Yeah, is it audible now? Is it clear? Can you hear me now? Yeah.
It's not clear.
Yeah, is it better now? Am I audible now?
Yeah, sir, I think if you can just आप अगर जो आपका earphone है ना, if you can just get it off, and if you can speak in front of the mobile without the
much
the
better
earphone,
without
that
the
would be
headphones.
better.
Let's try that. It's very weak, the sound.
Okay, so I'm clear now, audible now. Is it okay? Yes, Vinay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Much better.
We can hear you now, sir. We can hear you.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Yeah, so we started this initiative in Mumbai. Like I myself am a person with disability, and whenever I wanted to venture out, if somehow we somehow reach the destination, then the next challenge was how to access that premises or the building or any such institutions. So when I started thinking about that, then the thought came into my mind, like if we have access to this kind of information into our hands, that makes our travel more easy. So we can plan our travel accordingly, probably depending upon our accessibility. We can have better planning for the travel. So that's how we started the accessibility thing under My Udan. And then eventually, like we understood, like it cannot be done single-handedly, or even you cannot employ and try to add this information into the app because it takes time and the resource building. Then we thought of how we can engage and bring more volunteers into this practice who can help us building such kind of inventory, which can help more and more people. So that's how we started working on that, and we connected to few of the corporates and the volunteers. and who understood like what we are trying to do, and based on that we gave them the feed training and the sensitization training how this is going to benefit, because it doesn't take much more time. It just takes 30 seconds to add those information into the app, and that can help more and more people to venture out. And then we have seen a good response, and like over a period of time we were able to add 10,000 locations into our platform, and that is helping people. And what we have seen, like there are many buildings like which are accessible, but people are not aware about that. And also there are few premises that are accessible, but that are not properly accessible. Maybe probably the owner or the person who is trying to make that place accessible, they need some sort of guidance. So also such kind of inventory can help those people to make those places accessible in a proper way. And also what we have observed like where the premises are accessible, but they have not been maintained, so the accessibility has gone down. So even when we carry out such kind of activity, that can help us keep a tap on the accessible information which are up to date, and that can be accessed by more people. Yes.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insights and experiences that you have shared. I just want to ask, like, how do you think social media and the platform that you have kept your My Udan app is the enabler for the Accessible India campaign? Like, apart from the volunteers, but how just through the social media and the app did you make the difference?
Please can you repeat your question once again?
I just want you to highlight that how through the app you could make some change in enabling the Accessible India campaign, like apart from the volunteers that you talked about.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're having some
Ravindra sir,
problem there with.
Ravindra sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, Vijay, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah. So Anubhai is asking that what you did with My Udan app, what else also can be suggested to Accessible India app other than the volunteer, like adding volunteers? What other features that जो My Udan में जो features है volunteers जोड़ने के अलावा ऐसे कौन-कौन से और suggestion हो सकते हैं जिनको हम Accessible India वाला जो app है उसमें replicate कर सकते हैं?
जी बिल्कुल, एक तो point है like it's about accessibility. Like I have also used and have that app, but the accessibility of that app is little concern. Like it's not accessible by all. So that is the one thing that should be taken care of, because when we talked about accessibility, then it should be accessible for all. So that is the one thing that needs to be immediately taken care of.
Yeah, I think also the question was more about how it could be connected, or how we can use. I mean, how your app or the Accessible India app, Sugamya Bharat, can be used in connection with social media. So let's say you posted a complaint that it would automatically be a message would be sent to your Twitter account or your Facebook account saying, I have just made a complaint in Sugamya Bharat. Why don't you try it? That kind of thing could be. I think that was was that what you were kind of asking? That kind of thing.
Yeah, that can be a way. I just meant to say that, we're talking about building capacities. So, how can each one of us, because I believe it is the responsibility that lies with all of us, and if we together build through it, we can achieve a larger impact. So, since the platforms like apps and social media are a better way, everybody can participate. So just that apart from just assigning a few volunteers, that what can be some ways where everybody can participate at a larger level.
Right.
So like
correct. One thing what can be done is like what I feel like rightly said by Malika Arjun, like there are many organizations have taken such kind of initiative, but that is not on a national level. It's been done at a society level or a local level. So if such organization gets an opportunity to get connected to Accessible India campaign, wherein they can share the information that they have collected so far, that can help Accessible India campaign to strengthen their database, and maybe they can build some sorts of APIs wherein it can be get connected directly to the Accessible India campaign, and that database can be flown to Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan. Yes.
This is a really good idea. Do we have time for the next speaker,
Yeah.
Yes, I think.
or we can get into the discussion?
Yeah, we can discuss forward in this in our subsequent dialogue. So coming to our next speaker, that's Ms. Swarnalata J. Am I audible? Yeah. So she's a Asia Book of Records holder, a disability rights activist, singer, photographer, and a motivational speaker. She often writes short stories and can speak about 10 languages. So she works in areas of accessible transport, accessible infrastructure, rehabilitation counseling, awareness, and inclusion. She's the founder of Swarga Foundation and has started Sarthi, the Tamil Nadu's first transport facility for people with disabilities and senior citizens. She has also made various infrastructure wheelchair friendly, and she has a Sokhya Physiotherapy Center as a flagship project where they provide free physiotherapy services, Ayurveda, and counseling. Welcome, ma'am, and thank you for joining us. So we would like to hear from you. Like you said that you wanted to speak about that, how you had a little critique about the social media, but yes, you can highlight on how it can help, and also how on-ground work speaks more in enabling the change. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anubhav, for the opportunity. I have not used social media as a tool. I mean, see, whenever I post something in terms of accessibility, I get less likes and less comments because people are not bothered about it. But when I post a nice, beautiful photo of mine, people will like it and comment on it. So the understanding of people in this matter in terms of accessibility is very, very poor. And I have led 2 lives. One is without disability and second is with disability. So I'm affected with multiple sclerosis since 2009, and it's a progressive disorder. So I have experienced, I had not seen a disabled person before my disability, meaning I have seen disabled people only in trains or temples, you know, into begging and all that. So when I became disabled, it was a challenge. I entered into a whole new world of challenges, and I'm really glad that government launched Accessible India campaign that kind of provided the impetus to start new projects. So, but I must say that there was not much support from the local government, because you see every year collector, commissioner, police commissioner keep changing. The DDAWO keep changing. So by the time we submit a proposal and get the work done, they're gone, and we have to restart the whole thing. So I didn't want to blame the government. See, that is how the government functions. So what I did was something different. I joined hands with the same government officials. For example, I went to the police commissioner. They had 6 steps in their office. I asked for the funding for installing ramps. They said we don't have funds from the government. So what I did is I approached the construction, builders. One of the builders was ready, so we put a 40 feet ramp, made a wheelchair accessible toilet. We provided a wheelchair, and we also earmarked a parking space for disabled people. So, but what was good was government was willing to do it, but lack of funds was one major drawback there. And the first person to use that ramp was Assistant Commissioner of Police himself, because he met with an accident. So yeah, the people who were asking till now, why do we need ramps, got a taste of why they need ramps. And
isn't that wonderful? Huh?
Yeah, sorry.
I said, isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, and
in English we say synchronicity.
Yeah, and a year later, they employed a person with cerebral palsy who's wheelchair user as a junior accountant. And when we met him last time, his father was telling that it has See, we are not providing solutions to cure anybody's disease. We are only providing solutions to make a person's life better, to provide quality life to anybody. So this has definitely changed his life for better. He can come to office without, bothering to think how much water I can drink today. Right. So that was one good thing. And I joined DRUCC, Divisional Railway Users Consultative Committee. And through that, I've always thought that we should, take a different route, different approach. So I got into the team, and railway station in Coimbatore was constructed in 1862, and we didn't have an elevator. It has a footfall of 50,000 people. And I went and threatened the DRM, Divisional Railway Manager, that if you don't install an elevator, we are going to do a satyagraha dharna, And immediately in 1 week's time, we got the elevator done. And with that, we also kind of were grateful, and we constructed wheelchair-friendly toilets on all platforms of railway station in Coimbatore. So, and with regards to education, we have made 10 government schools in Coimbatore wheelchair friendly by providing ramps to the classrooms and wheelchair friendly toilets. These schools are strategically located, and these schools are also centers for public examinations. And not only students, but teachers also use them, those with disabilities. And yes, because of my own challenge of not being able to use public transport or any other means of transport to travel, we started Tamil Nadu's first transport facility for people with disabilities and senior citizens, which comes with a ramp, sofa cum bed, toilet, television, hot water, so that people like us can travel with dignity and comfort. It is, it is used not only for single type of disability. We have considered a lot of disabilities in that matter. For example, if the disabled person cannot sit for a long time on the wheelchair, he can also lie down.
Okay.
Yeah, while traveling.
Can I ask?
Yeah, sure.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Did you do any of this work through Sugamya Bharat app?
No, unfortunately, I was mentioning Anubha yesterday. Although we have done, I know so much about Accessible India campaign, how it functions and all that. I was still yesterday not aware that such an app exists.
Right.
So,
yeah. Okay. So that's interesting. You managed to do so much without the app. The app is a way of informing the government of where it needs to get work done, although it's actually not doing the work itself. It's asking the establishments to do the work, which is quite correct. I think that
Peter?
Or industrial or whatever, they all need to take ownership. And what we can do through the app, and we can improve the app, there's no doubt about it, if we work together through your experience, through the experience of people in the organization, IDEA and so on, is that we can help them to improve the app so that it becomes more informative, not only to the user, but also to the respondent. And this is one of the weaknesses. Your experience is that they would say, for instance, why do we need it here? Then we can, through the app, we can give a little bit of sensitization. But now you're fine, but in the future you may be elderly and you may want to not retire at 50 or 60, and you may have some more difficulty. Will you take early retirement just because you can't get into your office, or will you wish that somebody had done something about it? So this kind of sensitization can be brought into the app. I think it needs to be there to explain why we need it, because what's happening at the moment, the app is to make a complaint. It's quite a legal complaint. If you read the emails that are sent, it's a very legal document. But what it doesn't have is links to HGSS. So that would be the most obvious simple things, that they should immediately give a link to.
Peter can't hear you.
Yeah, probably there's a network issue.
Not able to hear.
Yeah, I think some network issue.
So yeah, I think what he was trying to say is that yes, app is a great enabler, and we can definitely. Peter, we can't hear you. Yeah, so app is a great enabler, but what I just wanted to have as my view is that as more people start using the app, we can have even the more demand, the need arises, and the government will definitely think about improvising the app. So let's just do the first step on using the app, and then definitely we have organizations like us who can collectively put the improvement suggestions, and we can surely get a better provision for all of us. So
Right.
let's look forward to using the app first and enabling more in the accessibility. So moving on to our last speaker, thank you so much for the wonderful interaction and your time. We have with us Mr. Arvind Yadav, who is an inclusion and accessibility lead at IDEA. Yeah, Vinay, you can take over and you can talk
Yeah.
please.
Thanks a lot. Thank you so much, Swandalta ji, Ravindra ji. Also, we have, I'm very glad to have a few more people who are working well, not only in the accessibility, but in the disability sector. Javed Ahmad Tak, Padam Shri, he is also with us. Thank you so much, Javed sir, for being with us. Naveen Nayan, one of the very known accessibility auditor, he's also with us. We will be interacting with them, but before that, Arvind, the stage is your own. So Arvind will share the few encounters he has made during the during his journey, and how he utilized the social media. He has also utilized the app, but how he utilized the social media for small changes and how they have reacted. Arvind is an accessibility and inclusion advocate at IDEA, but apart from that, he is also an YouTuber. So he is also a non-influencer on LinkedIn. Arvind, over to you.
Thank you, Priya. Can you play the PPT for me? Before that, जब PPT आ रही है उससे पहले मैं बताना चाहूँगा जो सोशल मीडिया है हम उसको दो तरीके से यूज कर सकते हैं। एक तो जो हमारे चैलेंजेस हैं उनको हाईलाइट कर सकते हैं, और जो नई नई चीज़ें हो रही हैं, नए नए ऐप आ रहे हैं, उनको हम एडवोकेसी कर सकते हैं, उनके बारे में लोगों को अवेयर कर सकते हैं। हाँ, तो भैया पहली हाँ मैं 3 इंसिडेंट बताना चाहूँगा। जब मैं मूवी देखने गया था पीवीआर में, तब क्या हुआ था, जब मैं मॉल में गया था, तब मेरे को क्या हुआ, क्या ऑब्जेक्टिव आए थे उसके बारे में बताना चाहूँगा। और जब हमारे फाउंडर कहीं पे गए थे और वहाँ पे क्या इंसिडेंट हुआ था उसके बारे में मैं बताना चाहूँगा। हाँ, जब हम पीवीआर में गए थे वहाँ पे रैंप नहीं था, और तो उसकी वजह से मैं मूवी नहीं देख पाया था। उनके पास दूसरे टाइप की व्हीलचेयर थी, और विच इज नॉट और सुटेबल फॉर मी। ठीक है, तो उसके बारे में मैंने क्या किया, मैंने उसके बारे में पीएमओ को लिखा, ट्विटर यूज किया, और मैंने सुगम्य भारत ऐप भी यूज की थी। और उसका क्या इम्पैक्ट पड़ा भैया, मूविंग ऑन। हाँ, उसका इम्पैक्ट ये पड़ा, पीवीआर ने उसी दिन मेरे को रिप्लाई किया, मेरे को फोन किया, और अपनी गलती मानी और मेरे को वादा किया कि आगे फ्यूचर में ऐसा नहीं होएगा। और हाँ, दूसरा इंसिडेंट, हाँ ये दूसरा इंसिडेंट है द्वारका सेक्टर 12 का। जब मैं मॉल में गया था तब ये बैरियर है, ये जो बीच में देख पा रहे हो, ले लो वो पिलर है। उन पिलर के बीच में मेरी व्हीलचेयर नहीं जा सकती। उसके कारण से मेरे को मेरी व्हीलचेयर टूट गई थी हल्की सी। तो इसके बारे में मैंने क्या किया, भैया नहीं बैक, हाँ इसके बारे में मैंने और ट्विटर पे और सुकन्या भारत ऐप में इनको इन्फॉर्म किया, डीडीए को और दिल्ली मेट्रो को, और उनको बताया कि आप ये गलत कर रहे हो और इसको ठीक करना चाहिए, अदरवाइज आई विल गो टू हाई कोर्ट। ये तो था मैंने तो था उनको डराने के लिए यूज किया था, पर इस वक्त ये काम आ गया। उसका फायदा क्या हुआ, उनका फायदा ये हुआ कि दोनों ने, डीडीए ने एंड दिल्ली मेट्रो ने रिप्लाई किया और उनको नोट भी किया, एक्शन भी लिया, और अब वो पिलर वहां पे नहीं है। भैया मूविंग, हाँ तो ये जब हमारे फाउंडर ऑफिस में, गवर्नमेंट ऑफिस में गए थे, वहाँ पे रैंप नहीं था, तो उसकी वजह से उनको डिफिकल्टी फेस करनी पड़ी थी। भैया प्रेजेंटेशन नहीं डिस्प्ले हो रही, हाँ तो
प्लीज कंटिन्यू, जस्ट प्लेइंग।
ओके तो उसके बाद क्या हुआ, तो उसके बाद हमने सुगम्या भारत में और ट्विटर पे जो गवर्नमेंट ऑफिस था उनका, उस गवर्नमेंट ऑफिस में हमने उसके बारे में लिखा और उन्होंने इमीडिएटली उसका रिप्लाई किया, ये देख सकते हो, ये रिप्लाई किया था, और ये प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो गई है अभी। और उसके बारे में हाँ, अब मैं क्या बोलना चाहूँगा, मैं दो चीज में फोकस करना चाहूँगा। कभी भी हमें जो भी कोई इश्यू आते हैं, जहाँ कहीं भी हमें प्रॉब्लम आती है इन एक्टिविटी के बारे में, उसके बारे में हम सोशल मीडिया यूज कर सकते हैं। हमें पता होना चाहिए कि कौन सा सोशल मीडिया क्या काम करता है। जैसे कि ट्विटर पे आप जो भी हमारे इश्यू है उसको रेज कर सकते हो, और गवर्नमेंट और प्राइवेट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन फटाफट रिप्लाई करते हैं और फटाफट एक्शन लेते हैं, और उसी के साथ हम सुकन्या भारत में भी कंप्लेन कर सकते हैं, और उसका भी फटाफट हमें मेल आता है। और उसके साथ हमें लिंक्डइन को ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा यूज करना चाहिए, क्योंकि लिंक्डइन पे जितने भी गवर्नमेंट ऑफिसर हैं, जितने भी कंपनियों के सीईओ हैं, वो सब वहाँ पे हैं। तो वहाँ पे नई नई टेक्नोलॉजी, नई नई जो डेवलपमेंट हो रहा है हमारे सेक्टर में, उसके बारे में आपको इंफॉर्मेशन पता होती है और हम अपनी कम्युनिटी को उसके बारे में ज़्यादा अवेयर कर सकते हैं। थैंक यू।
Thank you, Arvind. So I think these are the like few examples he shared. He usually do such the social media. Although like Sugamya Bharat app only sent the mail that we have registered your complaint, not the action, but social media deliver few actions. So this is, I think, the way we can do. Thank you so much, Arvind. So now we are going to just open it for the like the participants here. So our purpose is actually the time is we have reached till the time that there was till 5 o'clock. But like requesting you all, if you are comfortable, then we can go with like few people connected with us. Anyone can unmute, you can ask your questions, or if you would like to add something, if you also have some input or something would like to add, you can also do.
Thanks, Vinay.
Also adding, so I've enabled the chat box, as chat box actually disturbs the persons with vision impairment during the talks. So we have enabled the chat box now. You can put in your questions there as well. And yes, you can raise the hands to speak up for yourself if that's comfortable.
Harpreet ji has raised the hand. Harpreet ji, if you would like to unmute yourself.
Hello, this is Harpreet. Thank you very much for this wonderful session. I have a question simply. Being a road safety audit, when we do a road safety audit, if the zebra crossing is faded, we mark it, there is no zebra crossing. Similarly, my question is, if I have to add in Sugamya Bharat, if there is a ramp, but it's not as per the standards, as the width and the height and the ramp material is not good, should I mark it? Okay, this is a wrong ramp.
Yes. Yes, it's non-existent.
If the height is not good, particularly for the height, because I have seen several places there are ramp, but the height is so sharp, so steep. I think it's very difficult to go.
This is market. You know, this is the point that I was making earlier. Is that, I mean, you understand that there's something wrong with it. A lot of people may not understand that, and that's why the app needs to be improved. But even with the existing app, you can write a complaint. You can say. You can select what is concerning, and there's a long list, you know, toilet and so on, and then ramp, and then you can just say what you think is wrong with that feature. You can say that ramp has been provided, but the provision is incorrect. The angle is too steep. The surface is wrong. The handrails are missing, etc., etc. And you can just say what's wrong with it, and that's perfectly correct use of the app.
Thank you.
Great question.
In continuation with this also, there are several number of buildings, government buildings, right? But they are not having all the standards. So is there any liability we can talk to one person? There is a liability for all the government building. We can ask him for the liability.
No, we are not allowed to sue government officials. Obviously, you can hold them to account. Any private establishment and any private contractor. Now, if a private contractor is involved in a government building, you can sue the private contractor. So the architect who provides services to the government and incorrectly draws up a wrong ramp, or the toilet is too small or whatever, they are liable for what they have done. They're legally liable and they can be sued. The government officials, however, I'm just, you know, I don't be too rude about this, but however incompetent they may be, whatever mistakes they made, they are never held to account. You cannot hold them to account through the court. But you can ask the department head, you can put the facts forward to them and say that this person needs sanctioned because they have either refused or they have incompletely or insufficiently carried out their duties. And there is a mandate. Each department has a, they have instructions, they have standards to fulfill. Like, okay, I'll give you an example. Town planning, urban development, all these departments have to follow the National Building Code. And that is represented in law, the local law, development control regulations. If in that, what they have done is incorrect, that they have approved the building, construction of a building, despite the plans being incorrect, and I can tell you 99% of the plans that I have seen that has been submitted are incorrect. They are liable to be sanctioned by that department. And if that department does not sanction them, you can take it to the next level. You can take it to urban development of the state. If the local urban development office doesn't do it, then you can take it to the state. But the best thing to do is go through the commissioner of your state, the commissioner for persons with disability of Gujarat, or the commissioner of Delhi. You put the complaint to them that these officials in this department not carried their duties as per the development control regulations. They have not prevented, they have not controlled the planning, and without any consideration for these clauses in the national building standards and BCA, they have failed to stop or to bring it to the attention of the developer that the plan needs to be revised. So that you can do. Sorry, it's a bit of a long answer, but no, you cannot sue officials. Anybody who's privately involved in that contract can be sued. Each and every individual architect, the owner of the contracting company, all of them can be sanctioned.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. And I think you can also unmute yourself, but better to be right in the chat box so that more people can write. Meherji is writing in the chat box, how can we create one institution which can create mass access auditors at the ground level? We will take this question along with Peter, if you can allow. We have also few hand raised. If we can combine 2 or 3 questions and you can just answer collaboratively. Javed Saab, over to you. Thank you so much, first of all, for joining us. So we are joined Javed Ahmad Tak, Honorable Padam Shri from J&K. His work is done commendable work. Javed Saab, please unmute yourself.
Hi everyone. Jane ji, बहुत शुक्रिया. Basically, Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan is a very nice campaign, and it has been launched by the Prime Minister of India, and his intentions were that India should be now accessible. It is now the priority area that a person with disability should not stay at home, but they should be the part and parcel of every activity. But unfortunately, when we see the implementation, even in J&K, I have seen 10 crore rupees were not utilized. 2 times they got the money got lapsed and it got returned to the ministry. And I personally met with the chief engineer who told me that social welfare department, which is a nodal agency in J&K for personal disabilities affairs, they have a planning section separate and they are supposed to do it. When I went to the planning department of the social welfare, they said no, engineering wing has to, it is the mandate of theirs to implement this scheme. So there is a lot of confusion about the implementation in the state is between the implementing agencies. Somewhere they don't know who will utilize money and who will not. So we have to also take these issues in consideration and highlight these issues. Number second is that it should have been under the proper time frame. If a campaign is launched to renovate old buildings, but the saddening part is that when we see new buildings are under construction, even hospitals do not have ramps. And we have some good examples also. We cannot say that bad examples are everywhere. I have seen new college buildings somewhere in my area, and they are very disabled friendly, and almost everything has been taken care of. But the issue is that somewhere focal point should be created where a person with disability can go and register a complaint that this case should be addressed. Accessibility is an issue, and accessibility should be prime factor for the person with disabilities also. We should also take it very seriously, and whenever we go somewhere, we should talk to the people who are stakeholders there, that it is a non-negotiable area. We need accessibility, because accessibility, I saw sometimes is itself a awareness. I saw ramp was constructed in the deputy commissioner's office in my district, and when I used that ramp first time, the driver of the deputy commissioner said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was not knowing why this ramp has been constructed, and I am always trying to keep my vehicle beside the ramp. I will never do that, and I will always try to keep the my vehicle away from this ramp." So when we see the violations are being happening, when we go, I too have registered so many complaints on the Accessible India Campaign app, Sugamya Bharat app, but there is no proper redressal mechanism. Someone should seriously see it, take the cases, refer the cases, and he should get at least a line as a response, as a reply, what is being going to be done in this matter, or what has happened, or is it really a violation or not.
Yes. So can I answer this? I mean, asking, I mean, basically we're asking for a central point, and I think the government has given that central point. However imperfect it is, this central point is the Sugamya Bharat app and the PMU, and I think it can work. I really do. I think we can help them to make it better. Now, this is one of the things that I have brought up over and over again about the app, is that there is a written, the local authority has to send a notice to the establishment. Can we mute the other voices? Okay, so when that is done, it's a lovely legal document, but the problem is, first of all, the complaint is a written complaint by an unprofessional complainant. I mean, somebody, just general public. And so when that establishment receives this complaint, there's nothing added to that. That okay, the complainant has said that there is no ramp, and the notice doesn't say you can find the correct information about how to make a ramp in HGSS. Here's the link. So because it doesn't do that, it mentions HGSS, but it doesn't give a link. Those respondents really will respond with something totally inappropriate, because what is the failing in this whole campaign has been the lack of capacity building. So what the intention was with Mr. Modi's intention, I've seen it over and over again, and all the work he's doing, is to crowdsource. Now, there's two parts of crowdsourcing. Opinions, not very useful. Opinions are generally 99% just a noise. And I don't mean that they're not important. People's emotions are important. But what's more important is information, useful information. The other way around, crowdsourcing, the other part of it is when you reach out, you don't just say, what do you think about this? You say, this is, for instance, how a ramp should be. Have you experienced it? Or in this building that you're complaining about, is this what it looks like, and so on. That part of it is missing. So this is something that we can work together, all of us. I mean, Harpreet has done a lot of important work with street accessibility and so on. And Vinay has done all sorts of sensitization. And a lot of us have so much expertise between us. If we work together on a structured document, extremely constructive language, none of this bickering and complaining, we can point out the weaknesses and the errors, and we can, for instance, I'll mention, Kavya said that it's useful that you get little pop-ups that tell you something about the ramp, or a ramp should be 1:12 or something. Actually, some of those pop-ups are actually incorrect on that app. they're actually giving wrong information. And I was quite upset about that. But we can help them to improve those, the corrections and so on. We can put together a document suggesting how the app itself could be improved so that it is more informative, more helps train. You know, we're talking about crowdsourcing. The earlier speaker was talking about in Bombay how they used students to access hundreds of buildings, thousands. This is what the app should be doing. This is what the Sugamya Bharat app should be doing. And if we make every citizen of India an expert, because you think about it, I mean, most of it's visual. I'm sorry for Kavya and people with visual impairment, this might not be so helpful for them, but we have visual cues. Oh, this is what the disability sign is looking like. This is what the angle of a correct ramp looks like, and maybe give some negative examples and say, these angles are incorrect. So if they have those, they could be structured in maybe a grid of 9 pictures and give ticks on the ones that are correct and maybe red crosses on the ones that are incorrect. Now, immediately somebody's learning. We're all like, we talk about AI, it learns from its experience, or intelligence. We're all learning from our experience. But if it's just words, it's sometimes difficult to absorb what is meant by a ramp. Not everybody has seen a ramp. Some people have seen ramp, but they've only seen bad examples of ramps. What will they do? If they get involved, they'll create more bad ramps. And this is the problem with the layout of the app at the moment. We need to do more crowdsourcing, but also crowd educating. And so in answer to that, I don't think we need another app. I don't think we need another mechanism. We need to improve what we've got.
Right. So actually we are going far from time, but Rama Murliji, I'm so sorry to just keeping you waiting. We will hear from Ramaji, if you can unmute yourself.
Thank you all for this, and Anubha, thank you very much. This is the first time I'm coming to know about Sugamya Bharat app. I will try to explore more as a parent. My kid is with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. In order to create more awareness to other kids in my region and in the part of muscular dystrophy community, Duchenne muscular dystrophy community, we special mothers formed an association, a registered association, and we want to create more awareness for the transportation. How we identified is, sir, like we have gone to the rural areas to find out why kids are not going to school. In one telecon, we came to know that because they don't have wheelchair and the school they are going is on the first floor. They can't go there. That's the first time we came to know that how important transportation or accessibility is. And the second case is in a government hospital, we don't have wheelchair accessibility. We don't have ambulance wheelchair. I mean, if you know, in muscular dystrophy and other categories, few kids are very, very fat. We can't lift them and we need to carry them on a wheelchair only, and from wheelchair into the ambulance we can't lift. As a parent, as a mother, I can't lift the wheelchair with the person into the ambulance. We don't have any ramp to the ambulance to take them inside. That is what we found out is because of this reason kids are not being taken to the hospital for checkups. They are saying that what is the use? We can't leave the wheelchair. There is no ambulance coming to carry the wheelchairs person in some vehicle. That should be a huge vehicle, big vehicle, and that vehicle we can't afford. Anyway, I don't know whether I should say this in this forum because I'm very new to this. First thing is how to create awareness about this app and how to reach out more people in my area, in my local language. The first thing is the second thing is where to address this transportation. People are kids. Unhealthy kids. Already kids are not well. On the top, if they have some other health issues, they are not taking them to the hospitals because they don't have transport facility. How to address all this and how to create awareness. This one I wanted to know. I'm so sorry if this is related to here or not. I wanted some help, and Swarnalata madam also spoke a few areas of how to tackle this. If we need any help or any suggestion how to move forward, that would be a great this one. So thank you so much. Thanks a lot, Anubha.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am,
Okay.
for speaking out your concern. Yeah, Peter, please carry on.
Yeah, so in the app, there is the third option in the beginning. You can choose built environment, ICT, that's to do with information technology, websites and apps and so on. And the last one is transport. So you can complain about transport. There's a huge community of advocacy regarding transport, because obviously it's probably the most critical issue. How will you, it's never mind whether you can get in the building, it's how you can get from your home to that building. And so it's kind of the first issue that we need to deal with, and it's the last one to be considered. But there is the Disability Rights Alliance are working very hard on the new bus tenders against the government, actually taking them to court for states being allowed to put tenders out for the high step entrance buses, which are legally not allowed. And they're doing their best. But if you make the complaint in the Sugamya Bharat Act under the transport, that would be the correct thing to say. You know, that there is the buses available are incorrect. They don't have low height and flat ramps. They don't have a low height floor where it's a single step, and they don't have the fold down ramp, which is required to the footpath. So that's the correct use of the app. And if everybody was to use that, that would be each one of these letters of complaint are a legal document. In future, you'll be able to use them, and other organizations will be able to use them. And there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of these complaints. I know one person in Baroda who's put in over 300, just one person. I myself have done, between 50 and 100. I can't remember how many, but so many. So these complaints are very, very important, even if it's not working that well at the moment, because the people who are supposed to do something about it don't understand what they're supposed to do. In future, with our help, with the community of IDEA and all the other advocacy groups, we will be able to change to help them, to help the government to do better. After all, the government are just people like us, just other citizens and concerned persons. And this is a really important factor. We need to take responsibility. Why is it only those who are affected, the carers and the disabled, who are involved in this? 90% of all the complaints are from disabled people and carers of disabled. Why are the ordinary people who are not without disabilities, why are they not involved? And that's another issue we should look at: education in schools. And certainly we should be more involved on school level to help, because kids are very sensitive and very enthusiastic, and once you educate them, even if they don't have any disability, I'm sure that they will be sensitized. And by the time they leave school, if they had an sensitization during their school, they would be much more active in their companies, wherever they go, to be more inclusive, to have a totally different attitude to the current, unfortunately, the elderly people above 50 and so on. They just weren't exposed. Like the lady earlier, I'm sorry, I can't remember her name, who said she's got multiple sclerosis and she slowly became disabled. Then she realized what is disability, because before she only seen beggars and very, very few disabled people in public. I've actually had an architect who said, why do we need a ramp here? No disabled people, no people with wheelchairs come here. I can't, an educated person actually said that. I was astonished. But it just shows the lack of empathy and the lack of intelligence, social intelligence that is predominant. But it is changing rapidly, and we all can help that. So it's a really good question that you asked, and I hope you look at the app and use that functionality for transport.
Thank you so much, Peter, and thanks a lot. I think if anyone left, other than that, Peter, just quick questions that like a few of have been posted in the chat box. There's one, as I said, Srimantaji asking about can we use the app in any part of India? I think yes. And what is the sensitivity in terms of how the local authorities may respond to the issues?
Yes, I mean, I don't know if anybody else wants to answer, but my experience is that they generally involve the Ministry of Social Justice uses the departments in the local authorities, such as social defense officers and so on. So they're already sensitized. The problem is dealing with the rest of them, and you're dealing with planning authorities. They're very insensitive.
Right.
They're very heavily involved in the construction industry, for negative reasons. They've got a vested interest in not doing anything. So I don't want to get into that politics, but we all know what the situation is. So the pressure should come from below. It should come from the generation. It should come from the children of the builders, the developers, of the government officials, and so on, who will kind of gently prod them. But Dad, you're the planning officer. How did this happen? How did this new building get built without a ramp? That would be much more effective. Actually, it would. So it's very important to use social media, and I think we should suggest that Sugamya Bharat is more connected to Twitter and so on. So people's complaints are more widely understood, widely known that these complaints are being made. A lot of people don't even know that exists.
Right. Thanks, Peter. Meherji has earlier shared one question that how we can create one institution which can offer or which can create mass access auditors. He has also one suggestion.
I think we answered that.
Government can certify.
So I think we answered that. I mean, the Sugamya Bharat is the no point in making more apps and more organizations. That we answered that. We need to use the Sugamya Bharat. We need to make it better. We need to make it work for us, and we can do that. We can do that. They are ready to listen. If you make something better for them and you just hand it to them on a plate, they're going to take it up, and it's going to make them look good, and obviously it's going to be better for us.
Great. So I think thanks a lot. Thank you, everyone. If anyone have any last 1 or 2 minute thoughts, and it was amazing to see you like still we have 27 participants. Like there were 31 participants and 27 still. This 2-hour long session, it's amazing, and I think it will motivate us to just continue this series to discuss and bring a dialogue just for an action. Any last thoughts? Anyone, any speaker, any panelist, or anyone from the audience would like to add?
Vinay, Vinay, thank you, IDEA, and Vinay, Mr. Peter, for this wonderful initiative. I think. I think as a layman, my first response is that we should try as much as possible to capture information. That's where you get the insights in terms of the action way forward, on the ground. And of course, all of these inputs and insights help us to build a more robust app, and we get the user experience kind of stories coming in. I think all the best to all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Kavya would like to add something. Kavya, quickly, if you can add. Yeah, Kavya.
Yes. So as we all are talking about the most important need of the hour, making India accessible. So there is one more important topic that I wanted to talk about, which is the role of social media. It is equally important in transforming change to accessible environment, as I feel, because social media activism is accessible for so many people, because it provides platform for not only persons with physical impairments, but also persons with chronic illnesses who can sit at their homes and then pitch up voices against whatever issues they are facing on a daily basis. So social media helps as a knowledge sharing tool as well to sensitize people on a wide range of topics. I mean, it is the most influential platform to reach out to youth and create an impact. Since not everyone have an opportunity to have opportunity of having persons with disabilities in their close social circles, it's an opportunity to share insights from a disability perspective and also reach out to disability enthusiasts, irrespective of the geographical boundaries we have.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is also an opportunity to penetrate non-mainstream areas equally as cosmopolitan audience. So yeah, we have we have limited deep interactions on a regular basis with our close family members now, like within our friends or within a family.
Yes.
So we cannot express accessibility on one-to-one interactions. So social media gives that opportunity as well to creatively educate our close circles through various means. So I also wanted to add, it sets up a benchmark for the government apps and websites regarding the accessibility features, and thus consequently resulting in awareness about the concept of accessibility in general among the masses. So for not only raising voices against discrimination, it also helps in dissemination of accessibility. Like for instance, I can say through creating awareness regarding the best practices also. So I wanted to talk about this because I felt this is really important.
Thanks a lot. Thank you so much, Kavya, for taking out the time, all the panelists. If I can request each one of you to just switch on your camera for a last group picture, I think would be great. It can be memorable for all of us. And at last, and but not the least, thanks a lot for Vishal to making this entire 2-hour session inclusive. Thank you so much, Vishal. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Vishal.
This is wonderful. How you made it inclusive. Thank you so much. If like few people left, if everyone can just on the video.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one thing. Yeah, thank you so much for all the panel speakers, and also thank you, IDEA, for collaborating with us in this effort. And we're looking forward to more such dialogues where we can have more agendas pertaining to enabling the Accessible India campaign. So I request everybody to be active and participate in the upcoming events. We'll be posting about that through our social media platforms.
Yes.
And also we have shared the link to the presentation that Peter has shown us just for how we can use the app, the Sugamya Bharat app. And also we have shared a link to our data sheets. So there you can probably access to the standards, the accessibility standards as per the harmonized guidelines and the NBC. So it's a simplified version where you can actually read about and go through, and that can help you in putting out your complaints and suggesting on the right ways of the accessibility features and elements.
Implementing, yes.
Yeah. So thank you
so
everybody. Also, I just want to add on about it. We'll soon be starting with our course where that's an advanced accessibility course. So we encourage everybody to join in for the course, and that will be more towards educating for the standards on the accessibility compliances and some sensitization programs. So it can really help us in updations about the rights and also what are the correct features of accessibility. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Anuva. Thank you, EnableMe-Access entire team for making it so wonderful. I think I will not take much time because we have decided for 1.5 hours and it's almost 2 hours, but I can feel that it was worth, like hearing from the participants also was enriching for all of us. And thank you so much, Kavya. Thank you, Javed Saab, for joining us so long, 2 hours. Thank you, Naveen ji. Thank you so much, Swanlata ji. Thank you so much, Ravindra ji, Arvind, Vishal. Thank you so much, Anubha, Prachi ji, and Nikhil sir from IDEA is also giving the time for us. Shivangi. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. We would like to see you in our next sessions. So keep connecting. Thank you so much, Meherji, for adding so many important points to the aspect. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Watch this space. More things to happen.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I loved what Arvin had to say. Very interesting.